Good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, here, so I got the invocation, and if Joe's not here by the time to do the pledge, somebody volunteer to do it? Okay, if he's here, he can do it.
He's here, yeah.
Okay. Then we'll have approval of the minutes. Any changes to the agenda?
No, sir, not at this time.
Oh, man. Let's get it all right. Let's roll. Thanksgiving is near. Get out of here.
Yeah. We got
And all
some,
God's people said.
Now we make no comments. Let's go.
we got some special presentations this morning, and I assume we're going to be having Senator Davis here to present that. And then we'll do the service award for Michael Cox and for Daniel Truhan. And Truhan, okay. I was going to ask the sheriff if he's got anybody else working over there. Y'all all retired on him. Public comments, and then we'll have a public hearing at 9:15 for all the foods.
Yes,
Is
sir.
Tiffany coming over?
Yes, sir, she is.
Then we'll recess the Board of Commissioners meeting and convene the Wayne County Board of Adjustment meeting. We will not have to be sworn back in. We've already been sworn. And then we'll have the public hearing to reserve public comments on special use permit for the solar facility. Somebody need Barry to come up and explain that to you.
I did have a question. Is there any controversy?
Okay, let's do that then. You may come up, please, sir.
Yes, sir.
Basically, is there any controversy here like we've seen?
No, we sent out notices. They received them 2 weeks ago. We haven't received any calls or comments regarding this case.
I haven't received any calls.
Is this not also in the Pikeville jurisdiction? Is this the one right outside of
It's
Pikeville?
right outside of Pikeville's jurisdiction, that's right. Just right outside their ETJ.
Right, it's right outside of it.
It is. Mhm.
It's not in the ETJ.
It's not in the ETJ, that's right.
And from what I'm seeing on the map, it's kind of over to one side. There's no adjoining subdivisions or anything like that.
No, there is one to the north, or well, actually, it's to the east, but it's on the top part of the site plan. But there's a good gap between the homes and the actual, because the homes are set back pretty far from that back property line. So there's a good distance. I think the closest home is probably 200 feet. So there's a good distance between the homes and the actual panels themselves.
Other questions? Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, and then after that, we'll adjourn the Wayne County Board of Adjustment meeting, go back to the Board of Commissioners meeting, reconvened. And then we'll move on into consent agenda. The exclusions are all good?
Yes, sir.
All the knobs. So let's move right on into the budget amendments. And you have the floor.
Your first budget amendment is for the Maxwell Center. This is transferring $247,569 over to that fund. This is to appropriate funds for change order number 31 and the additional architect's fee on all the change orders for this entire project.
And we did find that was part of the contract, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Are we about through with?
Yes, sir.
With everything on the Maxwell Center?
I believe so. I think once we pay this, that will be our final bill on HH and TA Lovin, but I'll verify that to be sure.
The greenhouse, the farmer's market, all of that's taken care of?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I suppose we might want to examine our wording going forward on these contracts, because H&H really didn't have anything to do with this portion. A portion of this fee was work outside, in my opinion, outside the scope of their work. So,
Engineer.
The engineering. Settlement.
Yeah.
That was part of that contract.
so they did engineer that?
They didn't do
They
that.
subbed it.
They subbed it.
It was under theirs, but they didn't do some of the surveying. When we talked about it before, I know Bobby Rex did the surveying, but that wasn't part of it. That was we had that done.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Your next budget amendment is for the county manager's office. This is requesting to reallocate funds from the merit increases line item. This is just to cover some increases in salaries that were not originally covered in the merit budget amendment, the merit increases budget amendment. For our county capital projects, we are requesting to reallocate $269,020 from the Spillman line item to Superion. This will go towards covering the expenditures for getting that project up and running. And I believe you'll see another budget amendment when we receive our check from Spillman, but that could be another month or two.
And we're done with that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Question.
Yes.
Is this the same billing company that EMS and Wayne Net uses?
This is, Superion is, remember we had the Spillman contract?
Yeah.
And this is taking the place of that. So we're replacing Spillman with Superion.
They're not.
Yeah, they're
not-
separate.
not-
They're separate.
It's really an upgrade on what you had before, isn't it? Ain't it an upgrade on the software you had before?
Yes, because of the failure of some of their contract basis.
Right.
It was renegotiated with another company.
This is not billing, this is
Yes, sir.
IT. This is-
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This is jail
confused.
management, this is the CAD, this is everything that Spillman was supposed to have done, and we, again, renegotiated that
Okay.
contract.
All right.
But again, there is no additional funds that we will be allocated for this project.
Okay. For the sheriff's office, we're requesting to anticipate and appropriate $1,739.69, and this is for insurance proceeds. For the health department, requesting to anticipate and appropriate $2,729. These are additional funds received from the State Department of Public Health on the tuberculosis management program. Our final budget amendment is for the Board of Elections, requesting to reallocate $29,000 from their maintenance and repairs line item to temporary help, and this was to offset the additional cost of the extended early voting hours mandate, which was unfunded by the state, so we had to cover it in our budget.
Imagine that.
And that's all I have for you today.
Questions? All right, moving on to the.
A quick comment, if I
Go ahead.
could. While we're talking about this equipment over here, the equipment at the Board of Elections is approaching 20 years old in age. And in speaking with Dane was really concerned in that there was a failure in Lenoir County of the cards, and he said that you all might need to really strongly consider not putting off that budget amendment again this coming year. Something we are going to have to look at. Just heads up. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Well, before we leave that, go ahead.
I was going to say that there's also a subpoena out from the federal DA, USDA, in the Eastern District that's asked for volumes of things. Can't get that quashed, and the county attorneys are working on that. Supposedly, the Attorney General's office is too, for the State Board of Election. It could cost you a couple of $100,000 just to copy what they want, and you can't just copy it. You've got to look at it and redact things that are not, that the statute says you can't give them. We're talking to the U.S. attorneys trying to make sure they understand what they've asked for. They have delayed the request till the first of the year, after the first of the year.
I was only going to ask, is our technology department working closely with the Board of Elections to make sure that we certainly don't want to get ourselves in the newspaper or anything that even looks like we're not doing what we need to do.
Right, we had a Homeland Security meeting, it's been a couple of months now, and went over that. It
Yes, there is coordination, yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
in replacing these commissioners, do you know what kind of budget amendment we're talking about? And the second question, Craig, are there any grants available for purchasing these new voting machines?
There used to be HAVA funds, which was help, I forgot what actually the acronym stand for, that would allow, but the nice thing about our machines is they're paper ballots, and so they're not as expensive as the electronic voting machines. So, you're probably, I'm going to throw out a number, a couple $100,000. But again, I know some communities were looking a couple $1 million. So we're in fairly good shape with how we are doing and counting the votes using the paper ballots now. And that's what has been mandated by the state, is going back to, people used to do electronic ballots and keep it on the tape and the roll. Now they're mandating everything get back to paper ballots. So we're in fairly good shape on that. So,
What's the life expectancy of those machines?
if we've had ours 15, 20 years, it's probably past.
Yeah.
Huh?
As I understand, the problem's not necessarily the machine, it's the fact of using SIMS cards, which are no longer produced.
Right.
They're old. In fact, my understanding, the state has come out with a memo stating that they needed to use paper clips to hold them together. I mean, this is some really...
But in speaking of that,
I mean, they're working, but...
I do want to compliment Dane and his staff on the election that we just had, where other communities have had problems. I think ours ran about as smoothly as it could have run, and that is really a shout out to Dane and his staff.
Agreed.
Excuse me.
And I know you don't need a bunch of more stuff to do, but as important as that is, maybe we just write them a little thank you, and we all, electronically sign our name to it, because there's no question,
Right.
based upon what we've seen happen up and down the East Coast, we want to stay in front of that.
Yes, sir.
Just while we're on the election, I just want to thank everyone that was involved in the early voting site in the northern end of the county. I've had numerous comments on that it was convenient and kept them from driving all the way to Goldsboro, so everyone that was involved in that, Commissioner Mayo had a part in that, but everyone they were very appreciative in the northern end for having a site in Pikeville for early voting. And I'd also like to thank the lodge in Pikeville for letting the county use their facility.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I agree with Ms. Baycott. That place up there, Harmony Lodge in Pikeville, was busy. There was a lot of voting that took place up there, so, yeah, the Board of Elections and these commissioners sitting here, and everything went well. We didn't have any instances that happened in the building and so forth, and it's a perfect place that hopefully in the future we'll be able to utilize that building.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's move on to the surplus property.
Yeah. If you want to.
I was going to say whether it was going to be you or Barry.
There's two surplus properties that are up for your approval this morning. One is jointly owned with the city of Goldsboro. That's 901 North Carolina Street. The city has actually reached out to us to see if we would approve this. The offer that's been approved is $3,400. If the board approves it this morning, it would be completed via upset bid procedure. I believe the only reason why the city asked us to do this is because it's below half of the tax value, and by statute, they can't actually accept it. They have had no other offers on this property. The offer was made by the adjoining property owner, so they've asked us to request it, and if we do, we'd hold it open for 10 days for upset bids, and then send it to the city for their approval.
has it been advertised? I mean, it's been.
It's been advertised for several years.
Okay. all
We
right.
received it via tax foreclosure. I want to say it's been about 5 years, 6 years that we've had it on the books.
Okay.
Other questions? Move on.
And then the second one is Antioch Road property. It's also owned by an adjoining property owner. He's offered $3,000. As you can see, it's just right behind his property. It doesn't really have any other value. I've actually reached out to the other adjoining property owners, and they don't have any interest in it. So Mr. Taylor, excuse me, Mr. Taylor's offered $3,000. That does represent all the cost of what it took to actually foreclose on the property and all the taxes that we wrote off. So we are getting all the back taxes owed, all the costs associated with that tax foreclosure. And also, we would do this by upset bid procedure as well.
Questions? Thanks, sir. Next, we got a motion to approve the petition by the DOT to add Cascade Drive, Thornburg Lane, Orton Plantation, Mendenhall Circle, Monticello Circle to the state maintenance system. Just a straight up.
Standard resolution, yes, sir.
Is that what I got to call on? Carol?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No, the next one.
That's the next one. I couldn't
The next one's
remember.
the one added afterwards.
Oh, okay. And the
Skipped
paper,
over, you skipped over 6,
I do.
leasing.
Oh, okay. And motion to jump it back to 6, which I skipped. I am sorry, sir.
I can explain that one as well. The city manager's office has reached out. They approved this lease to the Little Washington Growers, I think it's Growing Group, Little Washington Growing Group. I think it's a nonprofit that the city works with. They have some educational programs where they use vacant lots to plant vegetables and gardens and things of that sort. The city approved this lease for $1 for 2 parcels back in their October meeting. They just asked that the county approve it. The 2 parcels are on the map that's in your packet. They're vacant. We received them via tax foreclosure probably about 4 or 5 years ago. We haven't had any interest in selling them. The city attorney has provided me with the lease. I do have a couple of concerns, but I can work through those. The lease would provide that if we do have a potential buyer, that we give them 30 days notice to vacate, so that way we can sell the property.
Would the lease just roll over year to year?
It would.
If it didn't have anybody, okay. Okay. Right, we'll move on to 8. This is when I actually got a call from DOT to add this to our list, and our board clerk graciously did that for me without not a lot of complaints. Thank you so much. But they needed to get this done, and so I told them we'd get it on the schedule for today to approve.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just a minute. Now, is this a subdivision that we've had some, this hadn't done anything with street pavings and potholes we've had in the past?
No,
Is this
no.
a subdivision that has never been taken over?
If you go over there for that Parkstown, I'm trying to remember what he told me, and you try where you get ready to get on, but you bypass the way they've got that corner there, you get to Mark Evans Road's kind of a thing.
Oh,
And they want to
that.
round that thing out so it won't be as dangerous.
It's just an improvement of intersections.
Yeah.
We're endorsing what they're trying to do to improve some intersections.
In years past, before we had the bypass, it really didn't matter because you didn't have that much traffic, but now you got more traffic over there. It's sort of it's an odd intersection that needed to be.
And it's at their expense anyway.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah, we're not
We're
gonna do
just
that.
endorsing their plan.
They're going to do it whether we endorse it or not.
He was nice about it, let's put it that way.
I know.
Then you just get your Sam Lawhorn, he's a nice fellow. Okay, moving on to 9, we've got another amendment to the position pay classification.
We just a bunch of grades that we're trying to clean up.
No, okay. Then we have county manager comments, and then board of commissioners comments. And by the way, Mr. Mayo's got to leave early, so before he leaves, I was going to allow him to make his comments. So we'll jump around to do that and let him do that. And we do need a closed session, I think. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, to discuss the performance of employees and to consult with attorney to have attorney-client privilege.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor to go to closed session?
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor, any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay.